Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. From a life of adventure to a life with painful spasms, the South Yorkshire man appealing for greater awareness of stiff person syndrome, or SPS.
The pain is incredibly excruciating, it's incapacitating, they can last for hours.
We'll also hear from a woman who runs a support group for those with the condition. Also tonight, a man has admitted setting fire to a double-decker bus during the Hare Hills disorder in Leeds last month. A week to go before the Paralympics, we catch up with Yorkshire wheelchair rugby players hoping for another gold medal. We'll be unpicking who the secret stitchers could be after a mysterious yarn bomb takeover in Pickering.
And it looks unsettled and very changeable this week, so don't forget that detailed week ahead forecast.
Hello there, it's nice to be back with you this evening. A man from South Yorkshire who suffers from a rare neurological disorder is calling for more awareness of the condition among medical professionals. Ian Rawlins has stiff person syndrome, which causes painful spasms throughout his body that can last for several hours. It's a condition that's been brought into the spotlight recently after singer Celine Dion posted this video to her millions of social media followers announcing that she'd been diagnosed with stiff person syndrome.
Unfortunately, these spasms affect every aspect of my daily life, sometimes causing difficulties when I walk and not allowing me to use my vocal cords to sing the way I'm used to.
Well, our report tonight contains some images of Ian experiencing these episodes, which you may find distressing. Ian wanted us to show these images to you to raise awareness of the condition. He says he's often encountered medics with limited or no knowledge at all of stiff person syndrome, leading to further problems. Corinne Wheatley has this report.
Ian Rawlins was diagnosed with the autoimmune neurological disorder stiff person syndrome in 2019. He'd had symptoms for many years before that. The progressive condition has affected every aspect of his life. Ian was once a keen motorbike rider. Now the couple describe life as a kind of lockdown. He's had various treatments over the years, including plasma exchange and types of chemotherapy to deliberately lower his immune system. But a hospital is in itself one of the most triggering environments he could be in. He and Andrea have had to fight many battles over the years for help and understanding.
They can vary from basically like having an electric shock, for instance, to down your leg, to actual full body spasms where every muscle in the body is in spasm, and the pain is incredibly excruciating, it's incapacitating, they can last for hours. There's lots of things that can trigger those muscle spasms, sudden change in temperature, loud noise, sudden change in light, touch, and then once the spasms stop, there's no movement at all, so I'm just frozen. I cannot move for hours afterwards.
Shortly after this interview, Ian went into full body spasm. He wants us to use this footage, taken with his permission, to show the reality of this condition.
I know that seeing me in full spasm can be quite distressing for other people. I mean, it's distressing for me from the inside. It's more for the medical profession to actually see what it's really, really like.
It's awful to see him suffering and not be able to reach out and touch him to reassure him, because if I touch him, I know it can intensify the pain or it could cause fractures in his body. It's awful not being able to just put your hand on his shoulder or, stroke his hair or anything. I once had hiccups that triggered him. I can sneeze because I have hay fever, so you're constantly thinking, I've caused him this pain. You do feel a kind of guilt.
It's frustrating when you see a medical professional that just says, I've never heard of it. There is no support. With stiff person syndrome, there's no information whatsoever. It takes many, many years to get a diagnosis. Doctors think it presents as other conditions, or the people get misdiagnosed with other conditions because of the lack of knowledge. With me speaking up, just to raise awareness so that people don't have to suffer for many, many years before they get proper diagnosis and treatment to try and help them.
Corinne Wheatley, BBC Look North, Wombwell.
Very few people have heard of this syndrome, but you can see the impact that it's having on Ian's life. Earlier I spoke to Karen Long, who works with a support group for people with stiff person syndrome. She also has the condition herself. I asked her about how it affects people differently.
Absolutely, there are so many forms of it and so many different treatments for the disease. It's very hard to diagnose.
And do we know exactly what causes this syndrome?
For some people, it's too many antibodies. For some people, it's not enough antibodies. It just affects your neurological system.
Ian said that he has found it difficult to get any advice from medical professionals. They don't seem to know much about it. Is that a common occurrence?
Absolutely, 100%. I just got very lucky when I found my consultant. But when you go to a doctor or anybody else, or if I've gone to A&E when I've had an episode, they're like, oh, never heard of that. Because it is 1 in a million.
So in terms of treatment, what is available for someone who does have this?
Most people take medication, so sort of like a clonazepam, diazepam daily. There is IVIG, which is human immunoglobulin, which is what I have. Some people have plasmapheresis. And it's also known that you can sometimes, if it gets that bad, a stem cell transplant can help, but there is no cure.
And some people end up having to go private, don't they, for this treatment?
Yeah, absolutely. And in America, we have friends over there. Medical insurance sometimes won't even cover it.
In the Celine Dion documentary, she talked about using a nasal spray. Is that something that's available here in the UK?
No.
So in terms of sort of resourcing this, how much more is needed in terms of raising awareness and finding out more about this? Because it can be so debilitating, can't it?
It is incredible. I mean, the simple things in life that people take for granted we can't do, whether it be tying a shoelace, whether it be in trying to put a hoover around. The little simple things in life become very hard. We fall a lot. I mean, for example, in 3 days, I've had 2 falls. Because we have a heightened startle reflex. So, no, I mean, I think the awareness that Celine has brought to it may help just 1 or 2 people think, actually, that sounds a little bit like me, and give other people chances to start to explore different avenues and maybe ask the question, can I be tested?
Karen, thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Well, if you've been affected by the issues that were raised in that report tonight, you can contact the BBC Action Line via bbc.co.uk/action line for details of organisations which do offer advice and support. Next tonight, 2 men have been sentenced for taking part in violent disorder in Rotherham 2 weeks ago. A bin was set on fire and windows were smashed at the Holiday Inn Express in Manvers, which has been used to house asylum seekers. Both Nivan Matthewman and Nathan Palmer were part of a mob, hundreds strong, who gathered outside. Tom Ingle reports.
Today at Sheffield Crown Court, 2 more men faced the consequences for their part in the violent disorder outside that Manvers hotel 2 weeks ago. First in the dock was a 19-year-old man, Nivan Matthewman. The court heard that he'd been filmed carrying around a large piece of wood and throwing a chair towards the hotel. He'd also participated in chanting "Yorkshire, Yorkshire" and violently rocking a police dog van from side to side. The Recorder of Sheffield, Judge Jeremy Richardson KC, told the defendant his conduct had been shameful. He sentenced Matthewman to 2 years, 8 months in prison. Next in the dock, a man who was 10 years older, 29-year-old Nathan Palmer from Hemmingfield. He had also pleaded guilty to violent disorder and again, like Matthewman, was sentenced to 2 years, 8 months in prison. The judge told him, "The simple fact of the matter is you did participate and you were well to the fore," adding, "What possessed you to participate in this crime can only be described as comprehensive stupidity." The cases of 2 other men have been adjourned for later dates. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North at Sheffield Crown Court.
Meanwhile, a man has been jailed for 14 months for his involvement in national public disorder protests that happened in Leeds early this month. Having pleaded guilty, Nadim Hussain of Greenhow Road in Leeds was jailed for a fray relating to the disorder that occurred in Leeds city centre on August the 3rd following an earlier protest. And 2 men have pleaded guilty to offences relating to the disorder that broke out in Hare Hills in Leeds last month. Steam Dobre and Mark Mitchell admitted they'd been involved in the disorder, which saw hundreds of police officers deployed to the neighbourhood. David Rhodes reports from Leeds Crown Court.
Disorder broke out in the Hare Hills area of Leeds last month after social services removed children from a family in the neighbourhood. As part of that disorder, a double-decker bus was set on fire. Today at Leeds Crown Court, 37-year-old Steam Dobre of Clifton Mount pleaded guilty to arson with recklessness as to whether life was endangered. He faced a second charge of violent disorder but did not enter a plea. Speaking with the aid of an interpreter, he told the court that he admitted that his actions were reckless but that he hadn't meant to hurt anyone. Separately, 34-year-old Mark Mitchell of Strathmore View pleaded guilty to a charge of violent disorder, but he pleaded not guilty to a charge of arson. Both men were remanded into custody pending further appearances before the court. David Rhodes, BBC Look North, Leeds.
You are watching Monday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. We'll find out if there's still a chance to catch a glimpse of this spectacular supermoon, and we'll take a look at more of the pictures that you sent in from last night. They're fantastic. Now, it's almost 3 weeks since these dramatic scenes in North Yorkshire, a bus with 2 people on board lying on its side after crashing off the side of a bridge. Well, since then, the bridge in the popular village of Grosmont has been closed to traffic, with the council unable to say when it's actually going to reopen. Now, for some living in the village, it means an 18-mile detour, while business owners say they've already lost thousands of pounds. Phil Connell reports.
It's a North Yorkshire village that's built its name on tourism, so the peak season closure of the historic bridge in Grosmont that lets tourists drive in has come as a major blow.
It's frustrating, it is, especially for the morale, especially for the village itself. I mean, this time of year, the car park should be absolutely heaving with people. Hard to get, a car park space, and it's just not happening.
The bridge was damaged on the 31st of July when a bus careered through the bridge's wall and landed in the River Esk below. Miraculously, the driver and just 1 passenger escaped serious injury. Since then, the bridge has opened to pedestrians, but with no vehicles passing through the village, the closure has hit businesses hard.
We're a bit of seasonal business, ever seasonal round here, and it's killed it. So, difficult to put a figure on it, but busiest month of the year, and signs up saying Grosmont's closed in effect. It's been heartbreaking, really.
North Yorkshire Council says it's now looking to install a temporary wall and open the bridge as soon as possible. In the meantime, they'll liaise with the National Park to source the right kind of stone, which will then allow a permanent repair to be made.
When's the bridge going to be done? Do you have any idea?
The council says it can't give an exact time scale as to when repairs will be completed, but locals fear it could be approaching the end of the year.
All the businesses are the same. We're going to struggle this winter, if we don't meet our targets.
Residents say it's a relief that no one was seriously injured in the accident. For almost 3 weeks, though, this popular village has been partially stranded and could be for some time yet. Phil Connell, BBC Look North, Grosmont.
We'll of course keep you posted as to when it might reopen. A 36-year-old woman from Rotherham has been arrested following the death of a man 8 years ago. 8-year-old Tommy Ward was found with life-threatening injuries at his home in Maltby in 2015 and died from them several months later. £30,000 in cash was also reportedly taken from the house on the night he was hurt. 10 men and a woman had previously been arrested but released without charge. A fly tipper in Barnsley has had their van crushed after new laws were introduced by the council. They've also been issued with the town's first £1,000 fine for the offence. The crackdown follows a recent increase in maximum fines for fly tipping in a bid to tackle the problem. The council says there's no excuse for dumping your waste in our public space. OK, time for some sport now, and just like that, the Olympics is all over, but more fun around the corner.
Indeed,
Hello,
indeed. In fact, we've got a brilliant Paralympics preview coming up, and then there's coverage of the Magic Weekend in Super League. But let's start with football and with our winners. First of all, Huddersfield Town made it 3 wins in 3 in all competitions as they saw off Stevenage. Josh Koroma opened the scoring midway through the first half before a second half strike from Ben Wiles put Town in control. Huddersfield won it 2-1. Barnsley collected their first points of the new season with a win at Lincoln City. Sam Cosgrove gave the Reds an early lead. Then at the start of the second half, Mark Roberts doubled their advantage. It finished 2-1 to Barnsley. Chesterfield went ahead at Crewe after just 32 seconds thanks to this lob by James Berry, and incredibly they were 3 goals up after just 12 minutes. The Sparrites won it 5-0. Chesterfield are already loving life back in League Two. Now, after winning their first match 4-0, Sheffield Wednesday suffered a defeat of the same scoreline away at Sunderland. The Owls actually started the match brightly, but when Sunderland went ahead after 11 minutes, the match was dominated by the home side.
I have to look back. Did we everything right for my staff and for my person, because I take the responsibility at first, and hopefully I take the right things from this game and prepare my team on Friday for a proper fight against the strong Leeds.
Sheffield United threw away a 2-goal advantage against QPR. The Blades took an early lead through Gustavo Harmer and doubled their advantage soon afterwards when new striker Kiefer Moore tapped in at the back post. But QPR hit back in the second half and it ended 2-2 at Bramall Lane. Harrogate Town led twice at Accrington Stanley and went ahead after this remarkable game of head tennis. I've counted 7 headers here. James Daly with the most important of those headers, putting Town a goal up. But the Sulphurites were on the verge of losing it 3-2. And then 3 minutes into stoppage time, Sam Follerin headed in to rescue a point for Harrogate, their first of the season. Now, the Paralympics start next week and Great Britain's wheelchair rugby team is going into the Paris Games as defending champions. 2 of the squad who are part of that gold medal winning team in Tokyo are from Yorkshire. Gavin Walker from Rotherham and Jamie Stead from Normanton are hoping to repeat their success in a sport that requires nerves of steel. Here's Sally Hurst.
There's a reason this game is known as murder ball. It can be brutal, but its fast pace and full-on contact makes it a brilliant spectator sport, and Britain's success in Tokyo put its players in the spotlight.
Everyone's going to want to beat us, everyone's going to be talking about us, so it's for us to take that pressure now and do something special with it.
GB Wheelchair Rugby made history in Tokyo, winning their first ever Paralympic medal. And it was a gold, meaning they're going into Paris as defending champions.
There's a little bit of pressure there. It is different this time, but what I'm finding really exciting is being captain again and sort of helping the younger members of our team prepare themselves, having had that experience.
Particularly with dysfunction, you have to be very aggressive pushing.
Former firefighter Gavin Walker co-captains the team and admits that this time around the competition is even tougher.
The top 7 teams, arguably 8 teams, are all capable of doing something very, very special out there in Paris. There's no hiding from it. Everyone's fighting for that gold medal, and that's what we're going out to do.
He'll be playing alongside fellow Yorkshireman Jamie Stead. For him, the gold brought other commitments too.
Yeah, I made a promise to my partner, as if we won a gold medal, that we'd get married. So we actually got married in January this year. So.
Have there been any promises made for a gold this time?
Yeah, I said maybe if we get a gold this time, maybe we'll start a little family up and start that going. Maybe have 1 or 2 little Jamies running around.
COVID meant the Tokyo Games were held without spectators, so this time Jamie's looking forward to sharing the Paralympic experience with family and friends.
Even though it's my 3rd Games, this is the first one I'm going to have all my family there, so I'm really looking forward to that and being able to perform and them to be able to see me play at Paralympic Games.
Well, the Normanton Massive's going to be there in Paris.
Yeah, doing Normie proud. Yeah, I'm a proud Yorkshireman, and I think everyone from Yorkshire comes with that bit of grit and resilience, and I try to put that into my game, and I'll never leave Yorkshire. I'm a Yorkshire boy through and through.
Have you learnt any French ready for Paris?
Just the basics. Bonjour. Je m'appelle Jamie, comment tu te parles?
Très bien.
J'adore le baby-foot.
What more do you need?
That's it.
The French may need a little work, but the team is fully fluent in wheelchair rugby and raring to go to defend their Paralympic title. Sally Hurst, BBC Look North.
And the Paralympics start on Wednesday next week. Back to you, Amy.
And Sally is there reporting on the Paralympics across the BBC. Lucky girl, so you will see her popping up on different channels during the Paralympic Games. Thank you, Mark. Now, secretive yarn bombers have struck in the small town of Pickering in North Yorkshire. Under the cover of darkness, a bit like Banksy, knitted characters from children's books and TV shows appeared a few days ago. Here's some of them. The knitters responsible say they plan another one at Christmas and they just want to bring a spot of colour to the town. Kathy Killick reports on this undercover group bringing knitting to the people.
There's been a mysterious invasion in Pickering, an attack by anonymous yarn bombers. They struck in the hours of darkness and left their mark all over the town.
After some Watergate-level journalistic investigation, we've managed to track down one of the yarn bombers, and what's more, she's willing to speak to us here at the Black Swan, but only in the strictest confidence, and we must protect her identity.
It's easy to spot our bomber. She's so dedicated to the cause, she crochets openly, without shame.
The ladies that do the crafting, they just like to craft. They don't want all the razzmatazz with it. They just love crafting. It's not about showing off or being out there. They just love to craft and they love to share it.
Do you know any of the other members?
We've got a very secretive WhatsApp group. I've never really seen them. We've never met. We know their names, but I don't know what they look like.
Some of the yarn bombers gained access to local shops and planted their devices there. This magic roundabout scene was left in a bookshop.
I reckon it sort of secretly appeared overnight one day, and there it was next morning. So yeah, it just looks wonderful, and it's attracted a lot of people who come along, take pictures, recognise the names, of course, and it's just been a real colourful addition to the town this summer.
A few yards away, a highly dangerous knitted egg sandwich formed part of a woolly afternoon tea in Ivy's tea rooms.
It brings something to the town that nowhere else has got, you know what I mean? You can't go to Scarborough and see knitting on postbox or something like that, can you? You know what I mean? It's different.
Clandestine they may be, but the yarn bombers clearly have grassroots support. Their activities will be hard to curb in this close-knit market town. Kathy Killick, BBC Look North, Pickering.
Oh, they're very talented, aren't they? Paul is here now with his latest weather view. Hello, have you missed me?
Very well. You look really nice as well. You look well.
Thank you. I'll tell you what else has looked very nice. The sky the last few nights. The moon has been spectacular, hasn't it? What's that about?
Well, the moon last night was fantastic. I think we've got some pictures. It's actually a blue supermoon. It's very complicated. When you get 4 full moons between the solstice and the equinox, a third one's called a blue moon. It's not blue, you get the saying once every blue moon. It is quite rare. A supermoon is where the moon is at its closest point to Earth in its orbit. So we've got a blue supermoon, and the next one is going to be in 10 years' time. And those pictures are very orange because we've got a lot of smoke coming over from Canada. There's a lot of wildfires in Canada, and the jet streams, you know, pulling it across. So, I mean, it is a spectacular sky. Unfortunately, I'd like to say we're going to have a good view of it this evening, but it's cloudy and we're going to have some rain.
You're kidding.
So I'm not. But
so if you saw a nice moon last night, well done you.
That's right. Early hours of the morning, you might get a quick glimpse. If you've got any questions you want to ask me, it was a quick one tonight, but I try and answer your questions every Monday night, and I'm hoping that the address is on your screen, and there should be a QR code. It doesn't look as though that's going to make it. So shall we move on to the weather pictures? Oh, there we are, the weather pitch. Nothing's changed at all. That was sunrise this morning. You can just see how incredible it is with the smoke particles that are coming across from Canada. And we've got a sunset which was taken last night. You can see just above those trees in Horsforth. And again, what a sight that was. So as I say, unfortunately, it's going to be very cloudy this evening. You might get a chance of seeing this blue supermoon in the early hours of the morning. In the meantime, if you do see a picture, send them to me. Addresses are on your screen right now. So let's have a look at the headline for tomorrow. Well, it's bright and breezy. There'll be sunshine and a few scattered showers. And the sequence is very unsettled, unfortunately. This is an ex-hurricane. We're not going to get a hurricane, but we are going to get rain on Thursday and on Friday. At the moment, once that goes through, it's going to be fine and bright for the bank holiday weekend. Now, we're looking at the rain pushing up from the southwest at the moment. So, unfortunately for moon gazers, it is cloudy out there. We're going to see 1 or 2 heavier bursts of rain pushing up from the southwest. But later tonight, it becomes dry with clear spells, and that's when you might be able to see that supermoon. A very mild night to come. Quickly tomorrow, sunshine with a few showers. I'll have a live forecast at 10:30. That's the forecast.
Failing that, we will just have to wait another 10 years.
We will.
That's it from us. Thanks, Paul. Hannah Gray's here with you late news tonight. Nice to be back with you all. Bye-bye for now.